Good morning and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on a Saturday, day 119. And I'm suited up in a bee suit today. Not the day I'm going to talk about bees, but I'm going to talk for a second about self-care. What does that mean? Because, if you're going to be a good steward, you got to take care of yourself. Now, I don't know, I've spent a lot of time taking care of everything I could outside of myself to try to take care of myself, and I found that it turns into a lot of work. However, it does perhaps create, relationships with all kinds of things. Like, I had a good firewood season one year, and I ended up buying that car right there, little Tesla, which I'm charging on solar, which if you're going to boogie yourself around on the planet, it seems like maybe that's a good way to do it. And, I got all these things planted, from fruit trees to all kinds of herbs. And, I've made myself a pretty cool place up here in the mountains. And it does take a lot to live kind of the way that most people live these days, have the kind of systems that make life, quote, comfortable. Running water, electricity, and transportation, communication. You got to have all that stuff. But, I think the nicest thing is beautiful flowers and greenery and a beautiful place to live and hopefully beautiful people to share it with. But self-care. Self-care is really important, because if you're not taking care of yourself, then who are you taking care of? What are you taking care of? And so, where does that start? When did it start for me, perhaps? I was in my 20s, and somehow or other I got oriented toward wanting to go within. I guess I was not finding real happiness in the world outside of myself. I was living in Monterey. I had a boat business going on, a diving business. I was a marine collector, did all kinds of kind of cool stuff on the underwater realm. I had a cool dog. I had a boat. I had some old Volkswagen buses. And I had just had my first son with a woman who I didn't really expect that I would stay with. I had just known her a very short amount of time. It was an unexpected pregnancy. And anyway, and I found myself really beginning to realize that happiness is not going to come from anything in this world. Yes, you can have, some experiences that give us a little taste of what heaven might be like. Loving, sweet relationships with people, with animals, with the earth itself. But most importantly, probably with ourselves. Now, there's this Miraji guy that my friend James Sivitz absolutely loves. He says everything you need lies within. I think it's true. So how do you dive within? I got a book called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, and found it fascinating and began to try to quiet my mind and seek that inner place that the yogis spoke about, the place that would bring bliss and all kinds of wonderful things. And it was difficult for me because I didn't have a technique that really allowed me to settle down the mind. And it was from that time and that experience of searching that I was really open to hearing about ways that you might be able to dive deeply within and find what was there. it was at that point in time that there was a young man named Jim Weaver. I had had a relationship with his sister, and he came back from a trip to Hawaii and was all about transcendental meditation. And I ended up going to an introductory lecture, found it very fascinating. The teacher, C.L. Wright, said, "Well, are you going to start?" And I said, "Yeah, I will in 2 or 3 months." And she said, "Hey, if you're going to start in 2 or 3 months, start this weekend. Do you have the money?" I said, "Sure." Well, she convinced me to start that weekend, and I'm glad that I did. I've never stopped using transcendental meditation to settle down the mind. I went on and got a number of advanced techniques, learned the TM Cities program, and found that a lot of the knowledge that came from that stream seemed to be just right on. Now, the Vedas. The technique was supposedly from the Vedas. Vedas are, books of truth. The Vedas were supposedly cognized by people who could just bring through information that was true. Einstein certainly was one of those people. There have been many, many people who have had things come through them, truths come through them that we live with all around us in our lives today. So transcendental meditation was one of those techniques. Other techniques that I learned as a result of TM, Ayurveda and Ayurvedic practices are aimed at preventative medicine. Basically, taking care of your body so that it doesn't deteriorate as quickly, age as quickly, stays healthier. And what is that centered on is really your organs, not your muscles. It's cool to have, big muscles and muscles that work. But more importantly, you need to have organs that work, your internal system. And so the Ayurvedic techniques were aimed at keeping your physiology in balance so that you wouldn't create dis-ease in your system. I would thoroughly advise or recommend looking into Ayurvedic medicine, seeing what it's all about. And it's about self-care. Preventative medicine is self-care. The suggestion, oh my gosh, it's an incredible routine if you could actually stick to it. It'd be a daily visit to the spa, only you're self-administering. And, it begins with awakening at a decent hour during a period of time that's known as the Vata period. And if memory serves me well, it's between the hours of, I think, 2 to 6 in the morning. If you can get up between 4 and 6 in the morning, you're doing well. And you start by taking a little walk outside, hopefully allowing some dew to hit your bare feet. You come inside and you do a ritual by you swish oil through your mouth to get rid of impurities. You do an abhyanga, which is an oil massage over your whole body, followed by putting a flour paste on your body that takes the excess oil off, followed by a warm bath or shower, followed by yoga asanas, pranayama, and then meditation, followed by a light breakfast. Then you're ready to start your day. Yeah, it's like by around 8 in the morning or so, or sometime around there, 7 or 8, you're ready to go and feeling good in all kinds of ways. It's really important, I think, those dives within. But how do you most easily dive within is when your physiology is at peace, when your physiology is in balance, when you're not feeling aches and pains within your physiology, but it's basically feeling like nothing, when you've gotten a good night's rest. That's when you can truly dive within. And it's within, I think, that you really find out what it is that makes you tick, what it is that will bring you ultimate joy in this world of form. And I think, as I've mentioned before over and over again, it's truly about our relationships. Yes, it's great to keep, all the things together in this world of form, and a part of that at this point in time involves having enough of a financial basis that you can take care of everything. But where does that true wealth really come from? It comes from doing what it is that makes you tick, doing what it is that's going to make you happy no matter what. Joyous contribution. And I think, those dives within, meditating, hitting the source where all thought emanates from, is where we get closest to where we truly come from. Who are we? Who are you? Who are you? We begin to understand who we are. We begin to understand our relationship to Source. And from that, what it is that we are meant to be doing in this planet with all the other life that surrounds us. I don't think it's just to sit around and do nothing. I don't think it's to sit around and, park ourselves in front of these screens. As pleasant as it is to hear a good talk by somebody or watch a pleasant movie, or I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to what we've created as human beings with all the screens and all the technology. Certainly there is. But boy, it could really suck you in. That is for certain. And make you think you're going to find something in that little screen that doesn't already exist inside yourself. So yes, I do have to go tend to some bees today. It's springtime. In the springtime, the bees tend to swarm, which means half the bees will go and populate another place. And I've lost a few hives in the last couple years. So what I'm trying to do is get into the hives before they swarm and split the hives. So I put basically half the bees somewhere else so that I get the second hive instead of it going off in the wild somewhere. It is great to have the wilds more and more populated by bees. Bees have taken a real toll in the last, 15, 20 years because one, there's a varroa mite, a little thing that gets on them and really wreaks havoc in the hive. Sometimes the bees will just end up leaving because they've been so infested by this mite in their hive that they fly to a new place. Ideally, you have a colony of bees that works hard at removing the mites from each other. That's the ideal. And then you've got a colony that can exist without you having to treat them in various ways that we have come up with. Antibiotics being one, thyme oil being another. Bees are fascinating. And maybe next week I'll talk about bees a little bit and how much of an impact they've had on my life. And the person that I learned beekeeping from, a guy named Keith Rhodes. All right. Hope you've enjoyed today. You might want to look into some way to dive within, truly dive within. And I think TM's a great way to go, but all roads lead to Rome, as they say. Okay, thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your day.